the negative sign. We want to, another thing, so we have algebra of known trig identities. We also, another thing we can do is find common denominators. And another thing we can do is factor and simplify. So, see, these are some tools that we can use to help us out. And if all else fails, we can always convert to sines and cosines when stuck. Sometimes that's not always the best idea because it tends to make things more complicated. But there are times when that's all we can do, is just simplify it in terms of sine and cosine. Okay. So with that, let's take a look at another problem. Here we want to verify the identity. And we want to verify that sine theta over tangent theta equals to cosine theta. So first thing we can do is we can go ahead and change tangent, right, in terms of, we're going to change tangent in terms of sine theta over cosine theta. And then we want that to equal to our right hand side. Well, like before when we had a over b equals to a divided by b, and that equals to a times the reciprocal of b, we want to, we're going to take sine, right, theta, and we're going to divide that by sine theta over cosine theta, right? So we're going to flip and multiply this second term. So that gives us sine theta times cosine theta over sine theta. And we want that to equal the cosine, right? So here the sines, this would be sine over 1, right? So the sines can cancel, and we get cosine theta equals to our right hand side. And we've proven that sine theta over tangent theta is equivalent to cosine theta. And that's the answer to that. So following through on all the steps, you have to prove each step. So in other words, if we skip from here straight down to here, down to this step, you know, you want to show, well, what happened in between there. So you have to, this is one where you have to show each little step. Okay, the next one, we have cosine v over secant v sine v. And we want that to equal to cosecant v minus sine v. Now here, it helps to know what is my second to the last step. Well, if I took cosecant v, I know that cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So I know that this would be 1 over sine v minus sine v. So as I'm going through my steps, if I can see that I'm getting closer and closer to this second to the last step, then I know I'm in the right direction. I'm going in the right direction. So first thing, so what we want to do here is we want to change everything in terms of sine and cosine if we can. And then we want to change things in terms of sine and cosine, and then eventually we just want all sine, and then we can get our cosecant from that. So here we have cosine v, and that means we have to change secant to 1 over cosine. times sine v. Okay? So from there, we know that we have cosine v, and this is going to be over 1, over sine v over cosine v. So we know that we can go ahead and flip. We're going to multiply the reciprocal of our denominator, right? So we're going to flip this denominator, and we know that we're going to get cosine v times cosine v over sine v. And so that's going to give us, we know that cosine v squared over sine v is the same thing as cosine squared v over sine v. So from here, we can use our, remember our sine squared, in this case v plus cosine squared v equals 1. Well, we've got cosine squared here, but we want sine. So if we can change cosine in terms of sine, then we'd be that much closer to getting to what we want, right? Up here. So we can change cosine squared into, that's right, we're going to subtract sine squared v from both sides, and we've got cosine squared v equals to 1 minus sine squared v. So we're going to change cosine squared v to 1 minus sine squared v, and we're going to split it. So we're getting closer to what we need, what we have here, but we need to split it. So we're going to put this 1 over sine v minus sine squared v over sine v. And we can cancel now, right? Just like x squared over x is x, well, sine and it divides into sine squared v, and we get just sine v there. So we get 1 over sine v minus sine v, and 1 over sine v is equivalent to cosecant v. So we get our cosecant v minus sine v equals to our right hand side. And that's what we wanted. And so that's our answer. Okay. And that concludes lesson 15.